All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to my presentation. I am excited to tell you a little bit about the project that I have conducted with my client over the past couple of months. So, as a project, I decided that a skill I wanted to teach my partner were the foundational running forms, so the foundations of running essentially, and what makes a strong runner. So the purpose of the project was, again, to teach the skills associated with running in order to develop an appropriate running form, which in turn would help my client to avoid injuring themselves. So this would just be something that would not only aid my client kind of throughout the project itself, but also just in the future, because it is pretty common for newer runners and those who don't know the proper running forms to hurt themselves and to injure themselves. And so that's why with runners, you see a lot of times runners get shin splints and other injuries associated with improper running form. So our the client did express an interest to run because this was not an activity that she often did herself. So she did express an interest in running for a certain distance, and ultimately, I decided that it would be the best course of action to conduct a project that was based on the foundations of running before moving into something such as running a certain distance, just so that way she could experience less discomfort when running, but also just enjoy the process of running more. So, what is proper running form? So, it's based on a lot of different factors, and my project didn't encompass all of the proper running form factors. It kind of focused on some of the most important aspects of running. So, some of the foundational aspects that I had looked at during my project were my client having their arms bent at a 90-degree angle. Their knees are slightly bent. Their head is over their shoulders. Their feet are landing under their knees. Shoulders are loose and over their hips. The feet are hitting treadmill midfoot, which oftentimes you see toe running, and the head is facing straight ahead. So quickly, the steps and materials needed. I had to gather my materials, which was pretty simple because I just needed access to a treadmill. I utilized some YouTube videos in my teaching session, and I used my phone to videotape my client's progress throughout the project. And then from there, after materials were gathered, I collected baseline data. I conducted my teaching sessions 1 and 2, and then I collected my post-test data. So the baseline procedures that I came up with, again, going back, I looked at 7 different aspects of proper running form initially. So the client, as I videotaped them, I went back and every 10 seconds, I would look at a specific running form. I would go through the video multiple times and look at individual aspects of a running form, and I would give them either a plus or a minus if they were proficient or non-proficient in that specific form. So this was just probably one of the best ways for me to score my client, just so that way I could say yes, they were doing it, or no, they were not proficient at that time. So for my baseline, you can see that my client was able to do some of these running forms. And when I did the baseline, I asked my client to get on the treadmill, turn it on, and to essentially increase the speed until they were at a running pace that they felt comfortable with. And I had asked them to run for a duration of 5 minutes without stopping. I set the timer for 5 minutes and instructed them to run, and I would tell them when to stop. So I did so, and my client was not able to run for the full 5 minutes, which I had anticipated because that's a pretty long duration for someone to run who is not a skilled runner. So I did include a picture of their form. Um, I will note that some of the things that I looked at was toe. So there was a little bit of toe running. The knees were slightly bent, but also were straight. My client was also looking down at the console rather than straight ahead, and the elbows were not at a 90-degree angle. So from this, I created a few short-term goals for my lesson plan. One of those was that my client would demonstrate proficiency in foot placement. So that being her hitting the treadmill midfoot, which is one of the best ways to run. And that was the easiest way to correct her toe running, to shift her foot hitting the treadmill kind of midfoot. And so her baseline score was 30%. So that would have been 3 out of 10 trials to 70%. So I was looking for about 7 out of 10 trials by the end of our first lesson plan. The other goal that I had created for my client was also the ability to keep the shoulders over the hips when running. So this was important because I did see a little bit of leaning from my client, but also leaning backwards, so much so that it was showing that her core wasn't engaged as she ran. And so I looked at increasing from a baseline of 30%, so again, 3 out of 10 trials, to a goal of 70%. So that was 7 out of 10 trials again. So my lesson 1 planning, I ultimately took those goals, and for my virtual sessions, I decided that the best way to demonstrate would be to find videos that demonstrated the appropriate running forms that I was hoping to gain from my client. And so I did that through screen sharing, and then I would ask my client to demonstrate that again. So I used some verbal prompting as well as some physical modeling and visual modeling as well through the videos. So these are just some screen caps of the videos that I used. I used one that showed the midfoot strike with a runner demonstrating the best way to run on the treadmill. And then I also used a running video that showed correct versus incorrect running form, which was helpful in demonstrating the difference between the two. There is my lesson 1 data. So my client did improve quite a bit in all of the areas. So my rationale for teaching session 2, just from the virtual teaching session, it was really difficult for me to see my client's full running form because it's just not a big enough screen. And so we would split the recordings in half so I could see her upper half and then her feet. So that was difficult. And so for me, it was important to conduct my teaching session in person. And so during the session, I decided that the best way to kind of expand upon my client's learning was to do more modeling myself on the treadmill, and it would be a little bit easier because we were going to be in person. So my short-term goals for lesson 2, they do differ from lesson 1. Just because I was looking at so many different aspects of running, I wanted to kind of expand upon their knowledge. So one of the goals was that my client would look ahead while running on the treadmill from a low proficiency to 100% proficiency. So they would look ahead in 10 out of 10 trials. And then my other goal was that my client would bend their knee slightly when running by demonstrating proficiency in 8 out of 10 trials. So for my lesson 2 planning, I wanted to look at the previously learned running forms and review those to make sure that my client had retained knowledge of the forms that we went over. So I had briefly demonstrated for her what I was expecting and had her demonstrate those forms that we had covered in the last teaching session. And then from there, I expanded the session and went more into depth on the looking ahead as well as bending the knee. So for my scaffolding in my teaching lesson, I just asked my client to demonstrate their knowledge of the form, and I provided minimal verbal cues. I also used positive feedback a lot through my teaching session as well. So I just used a lot of phrases that were encouraging and complemented the appropriate running form when necessary. I did also try to fade my scaffolding during the session and just tried to provide less cueing as the session progressed, so that way I could make sure my client was able to self-correct on their own without my cueing. So lesson 2 data, there is more improvement again. There's a good retention from the previous sessions, and there is significant improvement again in the other 2 running forms that I was looking at. So taking a look at the picture, she is now running with her midfoot hitting the treadmill, and her knees have a slight bend to them. She's looking ahead. Her arms are at a 90-degree angle now. Not great, but much better than they were before. And her shoulders are looser, and she's not leaning too forward or too backward as well. So just to show the baseline and post-test data, I chose to look at shoulder form over the hips. So for baseline, she went from a proficiency of 30%, so that was 3 out of 10 trials, and that increased to the post-test to 100% proficiency. So that would have been 10 out of 10 trials. Just to reflect, my client was able to successfully meet her short-term goals for each of the teaching sessions, which I was really happy about. I would say the biggest thing that she benefited from was having physical demonstration from me when I was running on the treadmill, because it was in person and she was able to see that and ask questions. And as well as verbal cueing. That was really important for my client to have, just so that way they could have that reinforcement that what they were doing was correct. I felt that all of my objectives that I used were realistic because she was able to master some of the skills and also reached pretty high proficiency in other areas of running. I think, kind of looking back, I would consider changing up the order in which I taught some of the skills, just so that way I could build upon some of the easier foundational skills to work a little bit more on the difficult skills that come with running. In lesson 2, I would say that the modification to change from telepractice to an in-person session did support my client. And I would also say that my modeling, as opposed to using video clips, were probably more helpful for my client just because she could see me doing it, and that supported her proficiency. All right. Thank you so much for listening, and let me know if you have any questions.